Hey guys, welcome back to Lab Rats, a podcast about the creative experiments that we are conducting here at FilmLaab and talking with other incredible creators about the things that they're experimenting with, the ways that they're learning and growing as creators, filmmakers, and just awesome people in general. Today we had on our guest, Sam Newton. He's not only a friend of mine, but I've been a big fan of his work for a long time, really due to his creativity and focus on being authentic and genuine to himself. You've probably seen videos of him traveling, music videos that look like this.
I'm so naughty, I leave my lens caps off. I'm a naughty little film boy. I don't organize my files, you should see my desktop. I'm a naughty little film boy.
I think you give some really practical and authentic advice to anybody who listens to this. So if you're a filmmaker or just somebody who wants to practice greater creativity and authenticity, definitely give this episode a listen.
Okay. Hey.
We're here, man. It's good to have you on the pod. So obviously this hasn't been released yet, so you haven't even seen anything that we're doing, but the goal of this podcast, it's called Lab Rats. And the goal of the podcast really is kind of to bring on people who are doing it right, creativity, pushing the boundaries there, and really turning, obviously, this passion that we have into something that they can actually make money with. There's a lot of creators out there who look up to you, myself included. I mean, I've followed you for a long time, bro, before you were popping off, like you have, and it's just been really fun to watch the journey.
We have been Instagram buddies for a minute too.
It's kind of cute, dude. I think it all started when I saw your the My Year video, and I could not stop laughing. Was it before then?
I also don't know. Yes, for sure before then, because I don't know if you remember. And I thought I brought this up to you, but there was one time where we connected. It was in Salt Lake. I was recording a concert for an opener. His name's Connor Burns.
Oh, okay.
And I was there, and you were there shooting. I don't know. It was like one of the main. I don't know if you're shooting for the venue or whatever, but you were there shooting, and we talked a little bit in the pit. And that was like 2019 or something.
Look at us, dude.
2018. But I remember meeting you. I'm like, oh, nice.
You're like, okay, that's sick. Well, now you're like 10,000 times bigger than me and just making it happen. So I'm just like, hey, I want to get on this pod with you. I want all the advice, not only for myself, but for, the people who are going to be listening. It's been cool, man. It's been cool to watch it and, be friends, but also be a fan. So I freaking love it,
man.
Yeah, well, to bring it back, obviously, the first time we got to really work together was when you came out here to Utah and had that project with DJI. Walk me through that story a little bit so everybody can hear.
So I got my first ever YouTube sponsorship for DJI, obviously something I was very excited about. And I was in between houses in LA. Like I was looking for a new spot. And so I was like, what's a cool city to go to and to just check out? And I had like a little checklist of things. I'm like, I needed to be close enough to Southern California. That's where my family is, so I can fly back and forth, and also check out apartments in LA. And then I needed it to have like a decent creative community and have like cheaper places available to rent out. And then I had like this little short list, and Salt Lake was right there, and I found this really cool apartment in Salt Lake, and I was like, all right, I'll stay there. I stayed there for I think 6 weeks. And while I was there, I got this opportunity with DJI and immediately was like, all right, well, I can't do this by myself. And I started racking my brain. I'm like, who do I know in Salt Lake? And I was like, oh, Mitchell and The Voice. And you had just put out a video. This is crazy because you had just put out a video that morning, and I'd opened up Instagram when I was thinking about it. And you were the first or second person. I was like, oh, what the fuck?
Let's go, dude.
And so I hit you up right then and there. I'm like, hey, what are the odds you were down to help make this video happen? Also, it needs to happen next week. Also, I need a car. Can you find me a car? Also, and we did it, and it turned out great. It performed really well, and I couldn't be more happy with how it didn't go how I wanted it to go, but it still was a good video.
I mean, everything that could have gone wrong seemed to go wrong, whether it was missing ND filters, crash drones, like breaking down cars. But I mean, overall, I think where you really won with that was you have such a genuine nature about you where you're like, hey, I'm going to just call out exactly what everybody thought this was going to be and what I thought this was going to be. I thought this was going to be this crazy travel video, you know, very fartsy content that people are like, oh, I wish I could be shooting that kind of stuff and doing that kind of stuff. But you're like, that's not actually how it went. And here was kind of the genuine experience. Here's what I did love about it and those relationships and things like that. And I think the call back to things that are genuine is one of the things that really does make you unique. So maybe you could tell me a little bit more about like what it is and how you think your approach to filmmaking, not taking yourself too seriously and focusing on relationships, is really kind of like helps set you apart.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the biggest things for me is constantly making sure I'm making videos that like I want to make. And it seems like such a basic, simple thing, but something that very few people do. And this idea of just checking in with yourself, like it doesn't have to be all the time. You know, you got to pay the bills. You might be in a position where you can't make a lot of fun videos all the time, but like once a year, right? Once a year minimum. Just how often are you checking in with yourself? And for me, it's like, I want to just make sure for my YouTube channel, like, am I genuine? Is this a video I would have made without any brand deal? Is this a video I would have made without a sponsorship? Is this a video? And as long as the answer to that is yes, and you know, sometimes there's dedicated videos that are like, obviously I wouldn't have went out and made if it wasn't, but that's the nature of the game. It is a job at the end of the day. But like 9 out of 10 videos I post, I would have made whether or not I got a sponsor. And so as long as that's the case and I'm still making videos that I know that I'm really proud of, then when people out there watch them back, then they can kind of see that effort I put into it. And I think that is what people appreciate.
Yeah, I agree. It's that genuine nature. And I mean, you almost make it overly obvious that you are sponsored or that this is something that you're doing for them. And it's interesting how there's so many of us who have done sponsored things and we're trying to like kind of put it in the hashtags and just off to the side and say, oh, this is as authentic as possible. But you're like, hey, look, this is how I'm running my business, running my life. But this is a product I actually use. This is something I believe in. And you almost go so over the top with making it a sponsored post and making it obvious that we all want to support it. And we love it even 10 times more because it's just you being genuine and doing it kind of differently. I remember,
Well, I appreciate that.
There was one video you did, now I'm kind of blanking on it, where you made like an entire song, not just this recent DJI one, but you did another one where you kind of made a song about cuts. Yeah.
Yeah. Cuts clothing. I made like an entire rap as my ad read.
So tell me a little bit about how music has influenced your creativity and how you've kind of like been able to combine the two. Because dude, I want to be a rapper my whole life. Right. I was in the car with my friends in high school freestyling and being absolute wannabes, but you're actually living the dream. So tell us how combining that music and your filmmaking has really kind of helped set you apart and like how it's influenced your creativity.
Yeah. I mean, standing out is the biggest thing for me, is like always finding different ways to set yourself apart from the crowd in a world of people always doing the same thing. And for me, I have always loved making music, making raps with my friends ever since I was in high school. We always did it. And it was just stupid, something fun that we did where it was like, hey, let's get in a minivan and let's freestyle. And then we take that one step further and let's make a dumb video. And I had always loved doing it, but I stopped for a while for, you know, shocking, because I thought people would judge me and think it was weird and cringy. And I was like, you know what, I'm not going to do this. And then I started up on YouTube again. I was like, all right, well, how can I mix things up? And I thought of the idea of like, all right, well, why not try a song about the creative space? Because what a weird little mesh of worlds right there. If I made a song about being a creator, and I did the first one, which is Content Creator Anthem, and that blew up. And I was like, wow, people like this. There's a space for it. Especially because it had never been done before, definitely. So hyper niche when I explained to people too. They're like, oh, you make music? I'm like, yeah, think like Little Dicky, but like if you only made songs about cameras.
I love that.
Very niche. It's super weird. But yeah, I did that. And I think those are two things that I really love, and I really love that making music provides a break from the, making videos, and at the end of the day, it is a job, and sometimes it gets a little monotonous at times, and sometimes you can feel a little uninspired. So it's nice to have that other outlet to just bounce to and just, hey, I'm gonna make a stupid song. It's gonna be funny, no pressure. Let's see how it turns out.
Dude, I love that. So you've obviously put out a lot of different songs, the kind of filmmaker, content creator anthem. I mean, the Naughty Little Film Boy, all of it. But what would you say is your favorite one that you've put out, whether it be the actual song or the music video, the creative process? What's the one that you're like, dang, dude, that worked?
Naughty Film Boy, I would say, is one of my favorites, because I think you also love the ones that go underappreciated, when you look at a project and you're like, I love that, but the world didn't love it as much. I definitely love Naughty Film Boy. And then Stay Creamy was also a really fun one. I think it's just my best song, because Tyler, the singer on it, is just so good. And the fact that the fact that I made an entire song just about cream, to me, that's my kind of humor. It's very funny. But the song itself, inherently isn't that funny, but the idea of making the song is the joke. It's very it's a weird sense of humor that I have. But yeah, and then there's just different ones that the cool thing about each song is it has a different, I can look back and see the impact that it made in my career throughout the shoots on Nikon one, the Peter McKinnon one obviously was one of the most impactful when I made the song about Peter. He shouted me out, kind of took off my YouTube career. But then the Nikon one, obviously, that stuck around for a while. And the content creator one and cameraman, that was one of my first
love that
Instagram viral videos. And so, each one has its own place, but it's just a cool separate outlet that I have.
Yeah, well, me and my brothers, we were out in Iceland, which is one of your favorite go-to places. I think you and me missed each other by a couple hours or 30 minutes
I
in the
almost
airport.
caught you in the airport. Yeah,
that would have been awesome. But I remember we were out there jamming. I can't remember what song you just dropped, and then we went through every single song on the playlist and just jamming, and tears rolling down our eyes because we're laughing so hard. Because I mean, this stuff is so niche. I hit it raw, no JPEG. It's these little lines that it's dude, come on. It's so niche, but I loved that.
Yeah, it's always funny to show to somebody who isn't a filmmaker or photographer or creator, because all the jokes just fly over their heads and they're like, what?
They're like, I didn't quite get that. No,
exactly.
That's good. Well, I, kind of with that, wanted to ask you a question about what is a process or tactic that you're really hot on right now when it comes to content creation that maybe other people aren't seeing?
I know you're a man of processes. From working with you, you have a system in place. You have people underneath you. You have to do that way for you to manage the production company. For me, I'm kind of a one-man band. I have somebody who helps me out with editing sometimes, and for the most part, it's just me. And my process, I am a very unorganized person. Fun fact about Sam Newton: I am as unorganized as you'll ever find. It's tough to keep my bedroom clean. My desktop looks like somebody just took all my files and just threw them on. So I wouldn't say I have a go-to dedicated process. For me, it's all right, if there's something that inspires me in a way that I'm genuinely excited about making it happen. And this is a big benefit of YouTube, right? It gives you the ability, especially being full-time on YouTube, it gives you the ability to go out and make something that you're inspired by, but then also be this episode is sponsored by microphone. Right. It's the best microphone. And so I have a little bit of ability to do that with my job, but I would say as long as it genuinely inspires me, if it's a comedic video, does it genuinely make me laugh? If it's a travel film, does it really inspire me first? That would be my first question to myself. Is this something I am proud? If it were a client video, I don't do client stuff anymore, but if it were a client video, is this a client video that I'm proud of making? Because sometimes people make if you get an offer in your email and it's like $3,000 and you're like, oh, this is awesome. I get some money. Everyone's in different places and sometimes you have to take those gigs, and I get that. But once you get to a point where you're like kind of established and you have a little bit of leeway, a lot of times the right answer is to say no, because you'll get something that's like, you'll read it and you're like, this is an awful video. This is not a good idea, / this is boring, / this is, and just because their budget's okay, it's going to completely take you down a path. You're going to spend the next month of your life making something that's not the direction that you want to go, when you could have spent that month not getting that money, but instead spent it developing a style of video or like a personal video or spec ad that could have then made you $50,000 in the future. And so you got to think of those little steps that are so important. And so my biggest thing is just asking myself, like, is this a project that I really want to work on? Am I proud of this? And then also, if it were a client video, I would just be like, if the clients aren't interesting, I'd come back to them and be like, how adventurous are you willing to get with this? How much fun can we have here? Because we can make this really cool. Like your initial pitch, it's great, but I don't think it could perform as well as if we did something exciting. So I always want to come from a place of excitement and like real creativity that just gets me going, because I know if I start from that place, then the video is going to be great.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a email from CapCut sitting in my inbox for $3,000 to make something about their platform or like their video editing software. I just don't use it enough and hasn't felt super authentic to me, so I haven't done it. But I think that's really, you're touching on something that I think a lot of us inherently know, but have a hard time putting into practice, right? How do I actually put my personality and what I'm passionate about into this? Like, take something that's being asked for and put your spin on it, make it unique to you, and make it something that you're going to actually be proud of. And like, I think that's the part a lot of people struggle with, that ideation, that creativity. And so for you, and like you said, it's a little unorganized, it's a little random. And I think all of us who are creatives have those areas of our life that have to be a little unorganized, because I think creativity, there's a certain amount of structure it needs, but there's also a certain amount of space and freedom it needs. So
yeah, you have to adapt.
Exactly. So for you, what kind of process do you undergo, or just like, have you seen work for you? Because you seriously think outside the box, the way you've approached things with shooting for DJI, shooting for Canon. And that's what has set you apart, is being creative, is being an individual and unique. And how have you leaned into that versus being pulled into creating what everybody else is creating? Because I find myself doing that.
Yeah, you're just understanding that everything you do leads to something else, right? And if you always have to think a couple steps ahead, right? So example, right? Arbitrary example. When most people are starting out, they're kind of a jack of all trades. You do a little bit of everything, right? You're trying to get your feet underneath you. And that's perfectly fine when you start out. Right. After a certain amount of years, you need to eventually be like, all right, I want to go in this direction, and you got to niche down a little bit, right? But when you start out, you're going to do a little bit of everything. Perfectly fine. Then maybe you'll do a wedding. Weddings, great money. They pay well. They're relatively easy. They can be fun.
Right.
But the moment you do one wedding video, if you do it well, what's going to happen? People are going to hit you up for more wedding videos. It's just, someone's going to see that wedding video. Who was your videographer? They're going to send them your way, which doesn't sound like a bad thing, but that's just how it is, right? If you do amazing, the next project could very well be another wedding video. And then what happens? Then you're going to do another wedding video. And then what happens? Now you're a wedding videographer. And you didn't really plan on it, but like, holy shit, I'm getting so many different people reaching out to me.
I can't turn it away now.
Weddings.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so wedding, it doesn't become like intentional in that regard. But if you have this intention, that's what I say, you always have to think everything leads to something else, right? So you could take this $3,000 wedding commercial, which is perfectly fine, or wedding video, sorry, make that wedding video, and then understand that you could be offered more wedding videos. You could take that money and put it back into yourself to make a spec ad in the direction you want to go. Say you want to make car commercials instead, but you're making some decent money with weddings. And this is how I started with travel filmmaking, was I did weddings and travel stuff. I got paid absolutely nothing with my travel stuff, and I got paid pretty decently with my weddings, but I hid the wedding company completely.
Right.
Nobody on the internet knew I made weddings. I was 100% booked weddings from word of mouth, because I've always been an advocate of like, if I say yes to something, I'm going to do it well, right? So if I say yes to something, if I'm putting my name on it, it's going to do well. And so my weddings would basically just book themselves, because I do a pretty solid wedding video, and when people see wedding videos, they hire the wedding videographer. And so it's a nice word of mouth industry. And I would do those just to save the money, but I knew I had the vision and the goal. I had the 2 steps ahead awareness of like, I wanted to be a travel filmmaker. So I would make the money, save up, travel for 3 months, and make brand videos for close to nothing. Right. But then I did that because I'm building my travel portfolio. And now it's like, once I got my portfolio to a base of like, all right, it's solid enough, then my travel videos didn't cost $500 anymore. They would cost $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. And then it's like, all right, cool. I've gotten my travel videos now up to par with what I make on weddings. I can drop the weddings.
Right.
And that was like my approach to raise the bar there. And so just understand that every project you take on, you should not just think of it in the dollar signs in the immediate, which is a privileged position to look at once you have made it and once you are looking back. However, just make sure it's not an every project thing, right? I understand you have to make money. Everybody's got to make money. And it's easy to be like, oh, you have success in the industry. Stop telling people to say no to things. But you say no to things at the right time. You can take on 1 or 2 projects that you don't really want to take on. Everyone's got to pay the bills. But if it's the difference between like, okay, well, rent is paid, food is covered, but I just want an extra like $3,000 right now, or rent is paid, food is covered, I can take that time and energy that I would have put into this commercial and put it into a spec ad, or put it into reaching out to 100 different companies in the industry I want to go into. That to me is way more valuable of anybody's time, because then you're going to, again, think intentionally about the direction you're going to fall into after each video is done.
Yeah, I love that. And I think you being able to map out where you want it to end up, it's the whole begin with the end in mind thing, is extremely important. And so many of us take what's right in front of us and not really think about either the positive or negative repercussions that can come with us going down this path. And so for you, setting aside wedding filmmaking, doing it to fund where you really wanted to go, and then actually also sticking with it, right? I don't think a lot of people probably realize how many years and how many videos and how many lame things you've had to do. Yeah, 11 years.
Yep. Yeah, 11 years making videos now. And so it's like exactly that, or the begin with the end in mind. Like, have a North Star, have a vision, have a general idea, whether that's a couple creators that you want to be in the same realm as, whether it's a music video director, a travel filmmaker, a production company, whatever it is, have your general vision and know it's okay to change course. You can change whenever you want. There are no rules to this.
Right.
Just to have that vision makes it so much easier than to be like, so like a lot of people starting out, they don't have no idea what they want to be. And so starting out, it's really tough. But I would say after a year, try to figure out something, right? Try to be like, all right, music videos are what I'm passionate about. Then just try to dedicate yourself to music videos for a year. Because then if you really, really don't like it, at least you'll have a badass music video portfolio. You'll have good connections in the filmmaking world. And then you can change. Then you can be like, you know what? I want to try travel. But you have to try that one thing almost fully to really know and understand, because doing a bunch of little things here and there, you're never going to break to that next level. You're never going to get that $50,000 client, because why would a $50,000 client pay you? I think the biggest problem right now, and a lot of people listening are, I'd say maybe 9 out of 10 people listening who have a website will fall into this trap. Go to your website right now. If there is on your website more than, if you're a videographer, more than 10 videos, I would say you're doing way too much. When was the last time you went to a videographer's website and watched 10 videos?
Never.
Almost never. If you have a video from more than 3 years ago on your website, get it off. What is it doing on there? If you have a video, so like if I went to someone's website and it was just 3 videos, right? 1, 2, 3. But they were all like 3 of the best videos they've made from the last year. I'm not going to think to myself, why don't they have more projects? Why haven't they been hired more? I'd been like, holy crap, this is what they can make. Boom, here's the money.
Yep.
That's it. However, if there were 3 videos and then a 4th video that's really bad from 3 years ago, I'd watch it and be like, oh, you know, in sports, you're only as good as your worst player.
Mm-hmm.
You're only as good as your worst piece of content that's sitting there on your website. So like, I think a lot of times on websites, people overcomplicate things and throw everything they've ever made. You don't need to do that. And I think a big problem with creators is when you're in that jack of all trades, like mindset, your website will say like Sam Newton Media, right? And then there'll be a tab, weddings, photography, commercial, music videos. And you show up and you're like, what does this guy do? And like, I came here for a car commercial. Why am I looking at, as opposed to like, oh, I'm showing up and it's Sam Newton Travels. It's not my brand name. I don't have a website, fun fact, but I did for a long time.
Right.
And it was Move to Create was my company, but it was all travel stuff. And so the reason we were able to land like a big $30,000 budget in the travel space is because they would come to our website. They wouldn't have to shift through weddings. Like a hotel company shouldn't have to watch a wedding video to figure out if you're good for a hotel video.
Right.
And so it was just, they're like, oh, this guy does this thing. He's very good at doing this thing. I'm going to hire him for this thing. So it's really tough to get yourself to that next level if you're just a jack of all trades and you do a little bit of everything. Again, it's not a bad thing, but eventually you have to work your way out of it. And a good place to start is just revamping your website. Just, you know, check to see if there's a video from pre-COVID. If there is,
get rid of
get it off. Yeah.
No, I love that. And I think there's kind of an interesting shift that I've been realizing for a long time. Like you said, we all start out as a jack of all trades. Man, I want to ask you, what is the worst video you've ever had to film? I've had to put together piano recital videos, funeral sideshows, obviously done my fair share of weddings. I think we've all had to kind of eat dirt and do whatever we can, right?
Absolutely.
But moving on, there's a point, like you said, where you want to really start growing and really start excelling. You have to niche down. Yet people have to know, what am I going to get from this person? And once you've done that for a while and you've really established yourself, you became Sam Newton, the travel guy. You create incredibly cinematic, beautiful travel films, things that are going to convert, whether it's a hotel, a tourism board, whatever. And you got to this point where it was indisputable and undeniable that you are who you say you are, that you are as good as you say you are. And then from there, you could now afford to branch out again. You could start introducing more personality. So now you're not just Sam who creates travel films. You're Sam who does music, travel film, comedy, your personality. You have built this community, and now you're able to show a diversity in who you are. Because no person, you're not just a single thing. You know, every person has many different interests and many different things that they love, but it first required you niching down, becoming extremely good at what you do, building enough of a platform that then people are like, okay, Sam, I want to know you better. I want to get more connected with you, and you could afford that.
Which is also, it's a little bit of that, which definitely plays being able to have my name in the travel industry first, and then people are like, this guy makes cool stuff. Like, let's figure out a little bit more about him. But the reason I could even do that in the first place is because I dove into YouTube, right? It's because I showed my face. Even if it's not YouTube, Instagram stories, even if it's not, that's what you do really well and on your side. And I know what you guys are trying to do a lot is peel back the curtain. It's just like having that personal relationship makes everybody like want to work with you so much more.
Right.
It's crazy. And so YouTube was such a big thing for me. And again, it sounds ironic that I talk about niching down, but they're like, well, aren't you the guy who makes, you know, funny videos and then travel videos and then music videos? And then, so I make a lot of different things, but my niche now would be YouTube and my personality. I myself, my personality am my niche.
Right.
Am my like, so like people come to me because they're like, I know Sam, I like his videos. I like the way he thinks, his humor, his personality. And that's a huge, huge, huge advantage that you have now over any other time, because you can post your videos to YouTube. You can hop on Instagram Reels and be more personal. You can hop on Instagram Stories and just be face to face with your audience. And you never used to be able to do that. And so people are okay with you bouncing from one thing to another if you're maybe doing a YouTube channel about it and being like, hey guys, I tried being a wedding photographer for 60 days. And now I tried being a music video photographer for 60 days, because now it's like you're all over the place, but it's kind of intentional. Again, It has this kind of direct like nature in which you're going. And so, if you're intentional with those kind of things, I think you have a little bit more leeway to be all over the place, because people want to see you as a person and as a friend.
Exactly. And I think the thing is, you're consistently putting things out, right? Obviously, YouTube is a higher lift than a lot of things that we're doing on Instagram. So I can afford to post, multiple times a week. But you're posting very consistently on YouTube, pretty consistently on Instagram. Hey, I'd love to see more. Keep it coming. But as you're able to do that and document that process, people are going to be more forgiving if not everything is perfect, because again, they're connecting to you as a person. And now, like you said, you are becoming your own niche. There's nobody who can compete with you. I cannot be a better Sam Newton than you are. That's just the facts, right? And but I can be the best me. And as I lean into that and share that more consistently and have that like consistent interaction with people who follow me, there's going to be that trust built. And so, I think that's something that you've done really well, and you've become really unique. And so you stand out. And so I know when I get particular projects, or I have particular things or ways that I want to grow, I know who I'm going to reach out to. I'm going to reach out to you, because you are unique and you're going to have that beautiful, different way of thinking and perspective that a lot of other people are. And I know that because you're putting things out, because I'm actually seeing your work, I know I can go to you and you can knock it out of the park.
Appreciate it. I mean, the one thing in the world of AI that you have that no one else can replicate or make or do is your story. And as cliche as that sounds, it's like, it really is the one thing that absolutely no one can take away from you. And it's the one thing that you have that absolutely no one has, the exact same of. So you can go out and your personality and who you are, all these little small things are so, are what make you, or what people gravitate towards. And so like, you might be the best of this or the best of that. But if, I would way rather work with somebody who I really, really seem to like. And I'm like, I've seen this guy on Instagram for a while now, really, really like his stuff. Also just seems like a funny, cool guy.
Right.
I'm going to hire him over the one that I'm like, this is really, really cool. But like, what's the process going to be like? I don't really know a face to this brand. I don't really know just putting your face out is so incredibly important. And I don't think enough people do it.
Yeah. I mean, so often, especially as filmmakers, the camera is facing outward. We're capturing what's in front of us. And there are very few who turn the camera back on themselves and start telling their own story and articulating that. And that's, again, where you win. So in that same vein, what is an aspect of your story? What's part of your story that you wish other people knew? Because obviously we only have a little window into your life, whether that is your come up as a filmmaker, whether that's something part of your personality that you're not able to share as much. But what's an aspect of your story that you think maybe not a lot of people know?
Oh, that's a great question. Good question asker here.
Thanks, man.
I would say a big aspect of my story is like understanding, like I was very, very good at just figuring things out when there was nothing like available to me at the time. So an example of that, like I've always been very unnecessarily confident. I would say ignorantly confident about my work. Even when it was not that good, I always told myself like, hey, why not me?
You stood by it.
Why? Yeah, I stood by it. And that's something that maybe, my parents put in me or I'm not quite sure where it came from, but like I always had this false sense of confidence of like, hey, if somebody can do this, if somebody could go out and be a travel filmmaker. Why not me? And so it wasn't a situation where when I graduated, I think what I'm most proud of with my story is like when I graduated, instead I decided not to apply for any jobs, right? I had my parents didn't give me any money. My parents didn't like say, here's a free year of doing whatever you want. My biggest like privilege, which a lot of people have, is I could have moved back in with them. If all else fails, I have my room that I grew up with at my parents' house. My mom was a teacher, which means she had health insurance, which means I could be on her health insurance plan till I was 26. So with those two things in mind, I had my insurance covered, and I had basically, if I needed to, a room that I wouldn't need to pay rent for. So I had those really, which are very important things that people need, but I think a lot of people, the good majority of people listening, have those two. Right. Like a place to go where, at least a room where they could have and not have to pay rent, and then, have the ability to do that and have that under their belt.
Something to fall back on.
Yeah, exactly. And my biggest thing for me and like what I was most proud of is like, all right, cool. I'm at this ground zero. How can I just go out and figure it out? And this is like before Instagram Reels even existed, or Instagram video for that sake. Right. Instagram didn't even have video. It was just photos, right? Way before any of this. And I was like, all right, well, if there's a space, why not email 5,000 companies, and just see who responds, right? And so my very first, before even having a travel client, we put together a list of like 5,000 different companies and just shot emails out to everybody. Like, hey, this is what I do. I'm a videographer. I'm traveling to Europe. I'm doing this. And that tenacity is like something that no one, saw, or those are the days that nobody saw in my journey where I'm like, dude, I spent 3 years, like you said, eating dirt, where I was emailing so many people, taking on projects for, $500 here, $600 there, the travel projects. I still had the wedding business that I was trying to cool, I made $2,000 with a wedding. I'm going to take that money. Now I'm going to pack up, go to Thailand for 2 months and try to make a video for a water bottle company. And so that would be the part of my journey that I think a lot of people don't really know, is how much failure there was with reaching out to people and learning that way, which I think a lot of people are afraid of doing in this world of, here's how to do this in 60 days and here's how to become a millionaire in 30 days and use this tactic to grow 5,000 followers on Instagram in an hour. Right. All these little things, people want it now, and people don't really appreciate the process of actually going it out. Because I think that's the easiest way to learn anything, is by going, doing, failing, figuring it out again, and sticking with it. Because if you're like, I'm going to be a videographer and I'm going to do this for the rest of my life, then guess what? You have a whole lot of time to figure this out. You don't need to figure it out in the next 2 years. It's a process, fail, and that's going to be the easiest way to really know what works for you. Because Mitchell can tell you what works for him. I can tell you what works for me. Joe Schmo can tell you that this is what you need to do this. The only way to really figure it out, because my advice might not be the best advice for you, Mitchell's advice might not be the best advice for you. The only way to figure it out as a person, as an individual, is by going out, taking all these bits of advice that people are giving you and applying it, seeing what works for you, failing, restarting, failing. And so I did that for, 4 years in the travel space until finally I was landing bigger clients.
Yeah. And I think that is the key differentiator between you and a lot of other people. Do you know how many of us wanted to be travel filmmakers, myself included, right? Down to the Sam Colder wiggly font, I did it, right?
Haven't we all?
We all have, right? I wanted to be that person, but where you beat me out is I stopped. I stopped going with it because I ran out of money and stopped traveling and whatever, and it was no longer part of my lifestyle. But you stayed consistent, and so really the piece of advice is you're like, okay, this is my story. This is how I did it. These are some of the things me as Mitch, I've personally learned in my experiences, but really what is going to help anybody on their journey moving forward. And the only piece of advice we really can give is it's in the actual doing that opportunities and success will come. You can't just sit on YouTube and learn another tutorial. You can't create a piece of work and then not actually put it out. You can't never reach out to somebody and just hope an opportunity comes your way. Because if you're not doing anything, those things will never come. And so it's in the actual process and the actual act that the growth will happen, that the improvements will be made, that the lessons will be learned. And that is what has set you apart. You have posted dozens and dozens of videos. You have had many different failures. You've had hundreds of emails that were never responded to, right? But it was that process that kind of purified you and helped prepare you for this. So when the opportunities did come, you were ready for them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think even something as simple as listening to this podcast, the amount of people that will be hopefully inspired or moved or like, you listen to podcasts, you want to grow yourself, you want to improve yourself, you want to like figure out how you can take yourself to the next level. It's so easy to just listen to a podcast and be like, I did my work for the day. Right. I did my, like how many people are going to go out and apply it? One, and then how many people are going to like make it their lifestyle of like, I'm going to actually do things, make things, create things, fail, and then get better and worse and understand that this is a process that's ongoing. It's evergreen. It's never going to stop. And like once you understand that, it honestly, for me, frees up so much to be like, I can make a video that might suck, but like then I'm going to learn something about it. And then I'm going to, and once you're able to do all that, it for me, it takes off a lot of weight and makes the creation process and the long-term process a lot easier.
Yeah. And I mean, I think if you turn it into the game is not always to make the greatest thing of the world. It's just to make something. And when you do that, because I'm sure you've had this experience, I just had a video. It was an iPhone video about me freaking out about some new AI tool that can auto cut between different camera angles. I threw it up on TikTok thinking nothing of it. It was literally originally a story from my Instagram, but I'm like, I'll just throw this on TikTok, see what happens. I woke up the next morning, 1.8 million views. I'm like, okay, I'm going to throw this on Instagram. And now, I mean, it's gotten shared. And between all the accounts I was looking at, it's had over 50, 60 million views between my account and everything else.
Yeesh.
Opportunities have been ton of people. They're looking at me as like the video AI guy. And I'm like, dude, I just made one video, right? But it now opened up this whole new possibility. And this was on an iPhone. I'm pretty sure my voice cracked because I was screaming. I was so excited, right? I mean, there's nothing tailored or custom or perfect about it. But the fact that I actually just put it out there, the opportunity came. So that's where I do think it's in the process of just the game should be create something and put it out there. It doesn't need to be perfect because half the time the perfected videos aren't even going to get the attention you think they might. But it's when you put it out there, those opportunities will come and the growth will happen. So absolutely mad. I mean, crazy.
Consistently showing up on the internet's important, and then also just consistently showing up for yourself, and then just asking yourself like, all right, is this something that I want to be making? Is this something that I want to be doing? Because those videos that are fast and easy are it could out of nowhere blow up your life. It could just be like, oh my God, what just happened? I just woke up. But then you as Mitchell, have to ask yourself like, do I want to be the video AI guy? Do I want to be the,
right.
And so those are all the intentional things that you have to like keep asking yourself in order to then when you are making those quicker pieces of content, like really form your identity around. Because I think with today's day and age, everyone's going to fall into that at whatever level. When posting Instagram Reels or TikToks or like short form content, especially, you're going to eventually get a video that takes off.
Right.
Eventually, right? Takes off in whatever realm. It can have 1 million views. It can have 50,000 views. And for you, that's a lot. First thing you're going to do is think, I have to make more of these. I have to make more of this. And so you have to ask yourself, if your goal is just to grow and like that's what you want to do, that's awesome. Make more of those and keep going. But if your goal is to be known as I want to be a travel filmmaker, but I made this one random video that blew up on the side that has nothing to do with travel films, am I going to stop and like just make those? Because the algorithm can decide very quickly what content you make. So you just have to ask yourself, are you going to let the algorithm decide every time, or are you going to kind of take control and be in the driver's seat? And a lot of times it's a lot harder to do the latter because the videos might not do as well. They might not perform as well. But right at the beginning, when you were talking about the recent DJI video that I put out, that's the kind of stuff, like, it's not my best performing video that I've ever done, but I know everybody that watched it was like, wow, that was a lot of effort and a lot of, like, it looked like a lot of fun. And I know how much time and effort I put into it. And I think in terms of when we're talking about a long-term brand, if people see that you're doing things original and doing things different and really putting yourself into the art that you're making, whether or not the video takes off, like the 2,000 or 3,000 people that did see it are going to be like, wow, that guy or that girl, they're doing it differently. They're really doing something cool, and it's going to stick with them. And I think, to me, that's more important than like a video that might get 1 million views that you're not very proud of. Because I've had a few videos blow up that I'm not necessarily like I made one video on my YouTube talking about why you don't need a gimbal, and like it did really, really well. And it's got like 60, 70,000 views. And I was like, well, I don't hate gimbals that much. I was just saying why you don't need a gimbal. And then there's another one where I put so much time and effort and it gets less. It gets like 12,000 views. And I'm like, well, why is this the case? It's just because sometimes I don't think quality, and I don't think inspiration, and I don't think like real creativity is judged by the view count and judged by. And so if you're talking about long-term success in an industry, and like why I feel like I've had success as a name and a brand and a person, is because like constantly people come back and like, oh, Sam's still doing Sam. He's still doing fun things. He's still making videos that he loves. He's still preaching the same things that he was 5 years ago now. And so if you can play that long game, it opens up a whole lot of opportunities to really make stuff that you're proud of, and understand that people are going to stick with that over a long period of time.
Yeah, I couldn't agree. But the thing is you've stuck with it, but you've also continued to iterate, and you've also continued to improve, whether it's the quality of your videos, the effort in your rhymes and production of your music, even the people that you're collaborating with, right? I mean, there's continual iteration and growth that you're putting into. You're not getting comfortable. You're continuing to challenge yourself and try new things. And I think that's another huge part of what's led to your success and why your community is still so engaged after, years after you've started getting attention. It's because they can expect that you're going to continue to put effort into this art form and continue to progress. So we've only got a couple more minutes, but my last question I want to ask you is basically, what do you believe, what's the future look like for you? Where are you trying to end up as a filmmaker or with your YouTube channel? What's kind of the next step? Because you're talking about that long game. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So when I say long game, it's like, I know that I'm going to be with this for a while. Like, I'm not going to not be making videos for a very long time. I'm gonna keep making this stuff for a while, which gives me that freedom of, I tend to not look too far into the future for myself. My past, my present, my future, I'm asking myself, do I like what I'm doing? Am I enjoying what I'm doing? And like, can I make, do I live comfortably doing it? And if the answer to all of those are yes, which right now it is, I absolutely love making YouTube videos. I absolutely love building the community that I have and connecting with other creators and being able to have a big, stupid idea and just send a DM and make it happen. To me, that is true creative freedom. That is truly where I want to be in life. And so I don't want to think like 5 years down the line, I want to make a full-fledged documentary. That might be something I fall into. But for now, am I enjoying what I'm doing? If the answer is yes, and I'm able to live comfortably doing that, then I'm going to just keep up. And I feel like the beauty of how quickly things move is there's not really too much of a pressure to think 5 years ahead, because you can have a 5-year game plan and then boom, AI's cutting your videos and everything's thrown out the window. So you got to be able to adapt with how fast everything is now. So yeah, I'm just asking myself if I'm really enjoying it. And then when the time comes to make a big pivotal decision, I'll make that decision then.
I love that, man. I think so many of us, including myself, I get pulled into the trap of, how can I think further ahead, and what are the sacrifices I can make now to maybe eventually get me there? And I've made sacrifices. There's been times where because I felt a lot of pressure from the company I was working at when I was at Route, I only took 4 days off after my daughter was born. I had to get back to the grind. And I'm thinking these sacrifices, doing something I don't like now will hopefully lead to doing things I do like in the future. When in reality, if I had been a lot more like you and stayed more authentic to myself and the things that did matter to me and that do matter to me, and moving towards that, I believe more of those opportunities to have that kind of a life will happen. And so I think that's a really good reminder to stay authentic to your goals, your future, your vision, your plan. And at the end of the day, just ask yourself, am I enjoying this? Because if I enjoy this, I will outwork, I will outlast, and I will outfun everybody else in this.
True. So true. Yeah. And then people know you're not faking it too. People know it's not like a facade you're putting on. It's not a front. It's like, this is actually what he likes doing. This is who he is. It's you don't have to fake it. You just have to do it and people will gravitate towards it. So
couldn't agree more, man. Well, thank you so much. I know this is a little bit of a tight timeline, and we've talked about doing this podcast for a while, but having you come on means a lot to me personally, as you're a friend. I'm a big fan, and just can't wait to see you continue to crush it. And hopefully we get to work together on something again soon.
Dude, I would love that. And I appreciate you having me. I'm stoked to see what you guys do with this podcast. And if you made it all the way to the end, if you're watching, shoot me a message on Instagram, Sam Newton, and just let me know you made it to the end, and I'd love to hear from you guys. So appreciate you for having me, and I'm sure we'll be doing something sooner than later.
That's what I like to hear, man. Well, appreciate you, bro, and we'll catch you in the next one. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed that episode with Sam. Again, he's so authentic, so down to earth and real. I absolutely love talking with him and having him on the episode. And if you want, feel free to reach out to me if you have any other questions. So grateful for this community and what we're building here. And I guess we'll see you in the next one.